everybody, Judy Maggio with KLRU's Decibel. You know, the March primary is just a month away. Coming up next, we're going to take your questions and clear up some confusions about that March primary. Stick around for Capital Coffee Talk.
They need to be held accountable.
And we got Ben Philpott back.
Hello, KUT.
My partner in crime, talking all things civics and politics every Tuesday at 12:30 for Capital Coffee Talk.
Before we get to that, though, I've actually had a couple of questions. I sent this picture out of your coffee mug to some people at KUT, and they asked, is that a hairy longhorn?
I knew they would.
Yeah.
It is not.
No.
This is a Highland cow.
A Highland cow.
And they only live in the Highlands of Scotland. And they're one of my favorite creatures on the planet Earth because they do look like a longhorn with a bad haircut.
Okay, hippie
so
longhorn.
I have all kinds. I have cups, I've got stuffed animals, I've got posters. I love Highland cows. And a little bit of trivia before we talk politics. In Scotland, they call them Highland coos. That's my really bad Scottish impression.
We've all learned a little something today.
And you have your KUT mug.
It
Is it on the right
KUT,
side?
yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, next week you can bring a strange animal no one's familiar with. We're back. We skipped last week. We're back with you to talk about the primary coming up in March. And boy, this is a big day because yesterday, midnight deadline to register to vote.
Yep.
And early voting starts February 20th.
That's right, February 20th.
So we got to bring you up to speed on a lot of things because this is the first one in the nation Texas has, March 6th.
Yeah, for the primaries. And, you know, once again, Travis County appears to be ready to be engaged at least. We're probably going to have the final numbers haven't come in yet, but we're probably going to have the most number of people registered to vote in Travis County that they've ever had in Travis County's history.
Like around 90%?
Yeah, the last election, 2016, it was at 92%. Early registration totals, like from a week ago, had us at about 89%, but with still plenty of time to bump that up. And you know, so everyone's engaged. They're ready to go. They're ready to vote.
But
will they vote?
Yeah, and you know,
and they won't.
Traditionally, statewide elections as opposed to presidential elections,
and opposed to the primary to get you to that even statewide,
just don't have the kind of turnout you have.
No, I mean this is an election for party activists, basically, either Republican or Democrat. These are people that are engaged in politics. They know almost all the candidates. They understand all the issues. They've probably been to even a few campaign rallies. They are the ones that are, chomping at the bit to vote, and they're the ones that will come out and vote.
But we want everybody to come out and vote, and that's one of the reasons we're here is to explain, because primaries are different than just about any other type of election. And I know that you guys at KUT have been holding your Texas Decides and you've been getting a lot of good questions in it. So we want to go over some of the ones you've been getting, and if anybody has a question, just type it into the comments section and we'll do our best to answer it during our broadcast for the next half hour or so. Yeah. So we're going to start with the first one. I'm going to ask, and since you're the expert, you're going to answer. I mean, I believe I've answered. I know the answer. I know the answer to this one.
Oh, good.
So Ben, will I be able to vote in both Democratic and Republican primaries in the very same voting session?
So if we're talking about like primary election day, can you vote in both primaries? The answer is no. And you may think that that's of course, no you can't. But we have received so many questions from listeners and people that go to our website about this very thing. Hey, I have people that I want to vote for in both the Democrat and Republican primary. Can you tell me how I can do that? Well, you can't do that.
You have to sign in as one or the other to get the ballot.
Right. Now, this does not mean, and this is another question that we go, actually, this dovetails into the next question if you want to go ahead and ask that.
So basically you cannot vote in both primaries.
Right.
You've cleared that up.
After the next election cycle, you can pick, again, whatever primary you want to vote in.
Like for the runoff, you could vote in.
2016, maybe you voted in the Democratic primary. 2018, vote in the Republican. No big deal, whatever you want.
Okay, so the next question is how many people are registered? Is that it?
Yes, how many people are registered?
As Democrats, Republicans, and Independents in Texas.
And so this goes back to, again, which primary you can vote in. When you vote in a primary, you are not becoming a member of that party. You do not have to register with that party to vote in that primary. We have open primaries. So how many people are registered as Democrats and Republicans and Independents? None. because you don't register as a Democrat in the state. You can declare yourself a Democrat or a Republican, but
you don't have to register it. Like as you said, it's an
you
open primary.
There's no card that you
You
get
can
with
vote
it.
in either one. You just can't vote in both.
Now, backing away from it a little bit, in terms of polling, the state is typically a third, and a third. A third people self-identify as Republicans, a third self-identify as Democrats, and a third self-identify as independents. Jim Henson, who we had on a couple weeks ago, will tell you over and over again that when you drill down on those independents, most of them lean Republican.
Well, they have to be because we're such a red state.
Which is how we get to be a red state, yes.
Okay, all right. So the independents say they're independent, but 9
vote
times out of
Republican.
10 they're voting Republican. The final question. How can one obtain a sample ballot before one gets into the booth? This is like, I think an English teacher wrote this. That's such a formal question.
Well, before one gets into that booth, they can go to, oh gosh, is it Vote 411? See, now I'm going to...
Vote 411,
Vote 411. I was making sure that it's not Voter 411. It is Vote 411.
I'll look it up while you're answering the question to make sure.
Yes,
but I'm almost
411.org.
positive. That's the League of Women Voters, right?
Yes, it's the League of Women Voters. It's a website that's run by the League of Women Voters, vote411.org. If you go there, you can fill in your address, and it will produce a sample ballot for you. This is the ballot. These are all the different choices that you will personally have on your ballot when you go in to vote. It lists everything. It lists, from governor all the way down to
Justice of the Peace.
Justice of the Peace. Or, and we'll talk about in a second, the party propositions that they want you to vote on as well during this primary. But, and the website is also actually really nice. If you want to go ahead and make your decision now, on the website you can check who your pick is, print that out, and take it with you into the polling booth.
Because it's a long ballot.
Yes.
And it can be confusing. Oh, wait. Who was I reading about, or who was that?
Exactly.
So it's actually taking that information with you can be very helpful.
Well, consider like the race for Congressional District 21, which is South Travis County all the way down to Bexar County.
That's like, what, 15?
If you're running in the Republican, voting in the Republican primary, that's 18 different people to pick from. So it's very easy to walk into the booth and, you're probably not going to know a ton about
Lamar Smith's district.
Right, he's retiring. You might not know a ton about all the candidates, but you might have decided, oh, it's definitely this person I want to vote for. You walk in there and you see that ballot.
You see 18 names, you go, was it a man or a woman? Or
So it's a good thing. It's a nice little way to not just let you know it's on the ballot, but let you go ahead and make those decisions and print it out if you want.
Vote411.org, and on a future broadcast, we'll have the League of Women Voters on to talk about this website.
And also, just real quickly so if you go into one of the races where like let's say governor, the League of Women Voters puts out questionnaires to all the candidates, wanting them to answer them so that they can have kind of a list of what the candidate believes on a few different issues.
Key issues that may swing your vote. If you're passionate about a particular issue, you want to know where your candidate stands on that issue.
And they will list those when you go into the race and click on someone's name. They will list what the candidates answered. Now, not all of the candidates answer. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization, but that doesn't keep people in power, the incumbent, be the incumbent Republican or Democrat, from deciding that they want to provide any ammunition to any opponent who might be challenging them. So sometimes you'll find information, sometimes you won't, but it's a good place to start.
And we also want to point out that in this particular primary, there are so many incumbents who chose not to run.
Yeah.
So that almost created a domino effect. People in lower offices have decided to run for Congress, leaving open some of the state rep seats, some of the state Senate seats. So it's
County commissioner, city council, school board, all those.
There's so many different things to vote on. And I want to run a clip now from Travis County Tax Assessor Collector Bruce Elfant, because he's also the voting registrar. He heads up voter registration. We were talking about the record numbers, but Bruce was saying yesterday that it's wonderful that people want to make their voices heard, that people march. The Women's March has really empowered women to speak out, more women than ever running for office. But he said the real way to make your vote count is to actually go to the ballot box and cast a ballot. Here's Bruce Elfant.
Marching feels good. All those activities feel good, but the action is voting. That's where it matters. And typically, as I said earlier, in our elections, too few people vote. And I get a lot of pushback from people who say, well, you know, the special interests are going to control everything. Well, the special interests really love low turnout elections. It's a lot easier to control everything. And if we had high turnout elections, the special interests would not be near as special.
Reach out to the schools. They have a lot of programs in the high schools to encourage 18-year-olds to register to vote, and they also had a PSA contest to have students put together a public service announcement about why it's so important to actually register to vote and make your voice heard. And we showed some of those on our Facebook
That
page.
high school stuff was an issue. It was either in the legislative session or just kind
Yes.
of around the legislative session. But the issue was that it is state law that the state must send out voter registration and information and documents and everything to the high schools. But there was a problem. The high schools were not requesting it, and there's no mandate anyway.
Yes, I remember
So
this
you had
conundrum.
Yeah, so the state was essentially not really making any kind of a push in the high schools to register seniors who were, who had hit 18. But just a week ago or so, I guess, Senator Kirk Watson here in Austin was out with our Texas Secretary of State at one of the high schools doing that program. So they have made a big push this year to do better.
I have to say, I love it when a Republican and a Democrat join forces to do something important like that. We need more of that in our state and our country right now. So the political divide is just like getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
But that doesn't mean you can vote in both primaries this election.
That's right.
You can only
And
vote in
we've
the Democratic
gone full
one
circle
or the
now.
Republican one.
So I want to hear about you've lined up our guest for next week, and it kind of factors into this whole education about civics and politics.
So next week we're going to have Amy Stansberry, who is working with a group called the Austin Eco Network. She's also been very engaged in doing events to just essentially teach people how to vote and who their elected officials even are, and how to then contact these elected officials and talk to them about stuff. She goes out and has these events and asks people, she does some here on the University of Texas campus and is like, hey, who is the mayor of Austin? And nobody will raise their hand. She actually has a funny video, and I don't mean to shame any group, but she has a video of a future doctors club that's here at UT.
Oh, can she share that with us?
Yeah, and she says, who knows who the mayor of Austin is? And nobody in the room answers, raises their hand. Now,
well, to be fair, they're very busy.
They're very busy, but people assume that if you are not highly educated, that's when you're not engaged. That's what it means to be a low information voter. It means that you, in general, have low information. No, that's not it at all. It means you're not bothering to go out and find that information.
You're not trying to find out.
Trying to find it. So yeah, she's done a lot of good stuff. She's got a new activity book that she's working on, which they're hoping to distribute, and it essentially, it's like one of those little sticker activity books.
Is this for all ages or just kids?
It's for all ages.
Okay.
But it lets you know
because
like
sticker
who
books
the different
sounds,
people are. Well, it's fun. You don't like stickers?
Oh, I love stickers.
But it's a great book. It talks about how to figure out how to be engaged with your representatives, who your representatives actually are.
Yeah, it's intimidating sometimes to contact your legislator, or even especially to go testify at the Capitol, or even just to go down and talk about an issue at City Hall. And we're going to be talking about some of those issues as we go along too.
And we're having her on next week because it's going to be the week before the State of the City address by Mayor Adler. And she, of course, is putting together a group of people that are going to go, not only watch the State of the City, but then also talk about it afterwards.
State of the City, February 20th.
Yep.
And then
State of the County
this
is
week?
this Thursday.
This Thursday.
Thursday night, I believe. So, and we'll have... KUT will have Judge Eckhart on Thursday morning to talk a little bit about the State of the County speech. And you guys have already
We've
had her
already
on
talked, we've had her on recently talking about some of the issues the county is facing, and people forget that she is the most powerful person in the region for the county, at least, And
well, that's actually, I think that was one of the first questions that our Jennifer Staten at KUT actually asked is what is
people don't realize
we're
going to go off into the rabbit hole, but the county judge is like if you could combine the city manager and the mayor together. She's the chief executive office for the county.
She's
for
not
Travis
a judicial
County.
judge.
She's not. She does not wear a robe, and she
have
doesn't have a gavel.
Nope.
That I know of. Maybe you do, Judge Eckhart. Well, thanks for coming today.
Sure.
And we want to thank you for watching. We want you to send in those questions. You can do it via Texas Decides at KUT. We can have you ask questions through our news at KLRU, and that would be news@klru.org. Send in some questions there. We'll answer them week after week. We're always here every Tuesday at 12:30 to talk. We're kind of nerds when it comes to politics and civics.
Well, we just want everyone to understand it's, I think the biggest thing about this Texas Decides project is there really are a good number of people out there that have either not voted before or it's been a while and they got questions. And there's no problem with having a question. We just want to.
But you want to be an educated and informed
Yes.
voter, and that's what we're going to be trying to do for the
We don't want people to be nervous when they head down.
No.
So we're going to
be informed, be armed with information,
demystify all that stuff.
make your
That's
voice
right.
count, and go vote on March the 6th or on February 20th.
February 20th, starting there.
And it ends
again,
March
remember,
2nd.
in
Early
Travis
voting.
County, anywhere you want to vote, just walk in and vote.
Got
Anywhere
it.
you see a voting booth. You don't have to go to your neighborhood.
All right.
No.
All right. Thanks so much for tuning in today. We'll see you next Tuesday right here for Capital Coffee Talk at 12:30. Make it a good day. Stay dry. It has been such yucky weather outside. I just...